written a letter to Daddy. His address is heaven above.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Well, I am going to plunge right in because today is going to be, hopefully, not quite as stressful as some of the previous days have been. I'm going to plunge in with what, Aurora and Mickey have gone shooting off. I wonder where to. But before I start, I think I should say something about the Christmas carols, which are going to be held at the castle on Sunday. Because I gather that some people think that they have been cancelled and that I am not going to be in attendance if they have not been cancelled. Well, they certainly have not been cancelled, and I'm certainly going to be in attendance. I say that for what it's worth. And now, if I may, I will plunge in with what Tenille Adams says. Hi, Lady C. Thank you for continuing your daily shows during your recovery. Wishing you well over your recovery. Thank you very much. It's much appreciated. All the good wishes, I'm sure, make a huge difference. Quick question. What do your bongo drums say about Meghan and Catherine's relationship? Why they never seemed to hit it off? Just curious. Sisters-in-law definitely don't need to get along. But somehow, anywhere nutmeg is, nearby so is drama. Very well spotted, that observation. And Catherine doesn't do drama. Meghan does nothing but drama. They never hit it off from the word go, no matter what Harry tried to make out in the original version of events that he and Meghan came up with. Because if you remember, originally they had a magical version of events. Catherine loving Meghan and Harry, and William absolutely a fan of Suits to such an extent that he couldn't believe that Harold had managed to get himself that hot chick who was the overriding star of Suits. I think if that had been the case, it would have been Gina Torres that William had been speaking about, but there we go. Antipathy from the word go. The antipathy that the sincere has for the insincere. Catherine saw, as did William, what Meghan was from the word go. And remember, William met Meghan before Catherine did. So William's original impression of the phony, which is what he thought she was from the word go, he thought she was an adventuress and a fraud. Well, let's not say fraud, let's say pretentious. And he thought that she was all out for herself and nothing else. And he thought she was going to be trouble. And he thought that she was abrasive. And he didn't have evidently one good impression of her from the word go. Of course, he was going to hand that on to Catherine. But Catherine is very sensible. She's very down to earth. And I'm here to tell you that she is a powerhouse privately. She is far more of a powerhouse privately than people realise. One of the princesses told me that I'll tell you exactly what she said. She said, that Catherine certainly has a mouse on her. Catherine is not shy where it comes to giving her opinion when she thinks that it is warranted. So, does that explain it? From the word go, antipathy. Doubtless, to an extent, influenced by William's impression, but Catherine's a very independent thinker, and she would not have thought, oh, well, William's thought that it's got to be so. She'd have arrived at her own conclusion. The fact that their conclusions often accord doesn't mean that she's not an independent thinker. She evidently is very much so an independent thinker. So I hope that answers the question. Barbara Perkins says, the only thing about the UK that terrifies Harry is being caught in... Sorry. Is being caught in London traffic when trying to get to his next photo op. Love it. The petulant prince just can't stand that his much more important brother gets the blue light special. Well, Harry used to get the blue light special too, when Harry was pulling his weight within the crown. But now that Harry has abandoned official duties, Harold still expects to get all the perks without doing any of the work. You know, Harry doesn't seem to understand. Perks equal work. It's something he's been struggling with, and it's something he will continue to struggle with, especially as how he is under the ministrations of that great legal authority, Rachel Zane. But what he really wants for coming back is all the bells and whistles so that he lands at Heathrow or wherever else he lands. Of course, he doesn't have to land at Heathrow. He can land at one of the private airports, after all. Victoria Jackson's very generous with her plane, even if Tyler Perry isn't anymore. One tail left eye. And he doesn't seem to understand. No responsibility, no reward. But he might prevail, you know. He might prevail. Because the government is sufficiently mischievous that it might allow him to prevail, knowing that it is going to be undermining the crown and the establishment part of the legal system, which is a twofold legal system. On the one hand, 1 second. Mickey, please stop it. Come back here. Mickey, get back here. Mickey, get back here. Which undermines the legal system, that part of the legal system which is traditionalist and which is monarchist. Just because we are a monarchy doesn't mean that an awful lot of the establishment isn't anti-monarchist. I've tried to point this out before, and I'm pointing it out again. So, but yes, you're absolutely right. Harry wants all the blue lights and the outriders and the stopping traffic. And Meghan, of course, insists upon it because she has stepped down in the world from being the greatest star that Hollywood ever knew. Mr. DeMille, I've always been ready for my close-up. And Mr. DeMille, you've got to show Suits that I shouldn't be number 6 on the call sheet. I deserve to be number 1 because I am the greatest star that ever lived, even greater than Norma Desmond. Oh, Mr. DeMille. I tell you, Mr. DeMille, when I look in the mirror, I just get so thrilled by the sight of the most beautiful girl on earth. And I've always been beautiful, Mr. DeMille, even before I had my nose fixed and everything else done. But I'm even more beautiful now that I've become purely Caucasian. Don't you just love my hair, Mr. DeMille? Do you notice? Not a touch of African hint in it. That's right, Mr. DeMille. Oh, Mr. DeMille. Isn't self-love the most wonderful thing? And I was so dumb in the early days to let everybody know that I was an advocate of self-love. You notice I haven't been saying that recently. Oh, no. I speak about love of friends and family. Of course, while I'm speaking about love of friends and family and leaking rubbish reports about letters I've written to Daddy, remember the last one? Well, the next one might be even more of a corker, Mr. DeMille. That's right. That letter that's topical at the moment. Oh, Mr. DeMille, I'm so brilliant. I just know the public's waiting with bated breath to find out how I'm going to be able to avoid a meeting with that fat old man who spent his money on me and doesn't deserve anything but contempt from me. He was lucky for 36 years of my life, Mr. DeMille, that I tolerated him and allowed him to give him my love, his love to me, and I gave him an approximation of love, and he doesn't deserve it anymore, and he ain't gonna get none, Mr. DeMille. Absolutely none. Well, if I have to feign it for the mainstream media, I suppose I'll just have to do that. But watch this space, Mr. DeMille, because I'm going to pull a few rabbits out of the hat the way I always do, because I, Mr. DeMille, am the greatest star that ever lived. Greatest. And after me, there will be nothing and no one. Wasn't it fortunate that Gloria Swanson was able to pave the way for me in Sunset Boulevard? Norma Desmond doesn't have quite the ring to it that Meghan Markle does it, Mr. DeMille? I think you get the point of the delusions that those two possess. Daisy says, I am sick of Harry. I don't think he is really bothered too much about the protection. He just wants his own way. He also doesn't want to pay for his security. And he also wants all the bells and whistles of outriders and all the rest of it. And remember, depending on his category of security, he won't have to pay for his security irrespective of where he's living. I hope all you Americans who are so concerned about your tax money going to waste are going to realize that you're honored and privileged to have to support those schlumps in Montecito to the tune of several hundreds of thousands of dollars every few weeks. Make that point for what it's worth. I am so sick of Harry. I don't think he's really too much bothered about the protection. He just wants his own way. The courts have said no, which is just spurring him on to fight until the bitter end. I want my own way and I'm jolly well going to get it. That's Harry. The degree of entitlement. But they say spare the rod, spoil the child. And that doesn't mean, by the way, beating the child. The rod of correction is guiding the child. But in fairness to Charles and Diana, Harry was born unguidable. According to his nanny Barbara Barnes, he was born angry. According to many of the anecdotes of Harry as a little boy, he was always a nasty piece of work. He does have charm. He does have a degree of empathy. He does have the patina of, used to have the patina, and still does when he's on his own, of good royal training. But there's no doubt he is beyond a spoilt brat and doesn't care who knows it. Alice says, "Dear Lady Colin Campbell, is it possible that the mainstream media is making more of Harry's recent demand for security than there really is? Could Harry's security review have more to do with the fact that Harry notified Aravik through the Home Secretary because he thinks he is far too important to contact a mere department 28 days in advance of his intent to visit London in January 2026 so he can appear at his trial against the Daily Mail? I have heard that he is demanding a new security risk assessment also, which isn't really news either, because he demands this every time too. It seems to me that the security headlines have effectively removed Mr. Markle's health reporting from front page news. Very shrewd point you make. Harry and Meghan are masters of diversion tactics, and this is a diversion. So I think to an extent you are possibly on to something, but I don't think it actually stands up to proper examination, and I will tell you why. The fact of the matter is, Harry contacted Shabana Mahmood by his own account after he had exhausted all the legal processes. Having exhausted the legal processes, he then started on the governmental ones. But the government is there to govern and or in Parliament, through Parliament, create laws. The government is not there to create laws, nor is it the place of the government to implement the laws. That is the place of the judiciary and the legal system. Harry's contacting of Shabana Mahmood was nothing but a clear-cut abuse of the system, which I, as a Jamaican, am able to say is totally due to the fact that Meghan has a little bit of sub-Saharan African in her. Had Meghan not been a woman of colour, Harry could not have done it and would not have done it. Meghan and Harry abuse the colour card at every turn possible, and they have done it yet again. And since he didn't know how to do it before, and she spent her whole life playing colour cards, whether they were white, brown, or black is beside the point. She, usually, at first, to pretend she was white. Now, to use the white woman tactic of, oh, I'm a proud, confident woman of colour, because it's what's going to get me into the whitest life possible, which is the royal life. Do you think Shabana Mahmood would have for 1 second countenanced entertaining Harry's suggestion that she overturn and interfere with the legal process in this country if Meghan had been white? Think about it. There's no way she'd have done it. So the government is in collusion with Harry and Meghan, using a race and race baiting and playing the race card, as, of course, they have done time and again. I know most commentators, most authors, most journalists in this country are going to be too terrified to say it. I'm not terrified to say it. First of all, it's the truth. Secondly, I'm Jamaican. I can say it. I, despite having white skin, am a fully paid up member of the Jamaican community, and all Jamaicans, irrespective of their complexion, are embraced by the Jamaican citizenry as being members of a nation of colour. So I'm as justified in speaking about colour as Meghan is. And I'm doing it. And who doesn't like it can lump it. I think the whole thing stinks to high heaven. Maggie says, Dear Lady C, not only is Harry's stalker a fan, absolutely, photographed all over the world together, but he's been photographed with her a few times. Sorry for jumping that. Sorry. Most YouTubers have reported on it and shown the photos with big smiles on all their faces. I'm sure any of the YouTubers will be happy to share the photos for proof. Well, I'm afraid, my dear, I wouldn't know who to approach, and personally, I just would not approach anybody in circumstances such as that. I take your word for it. I'm sure it's true. I know it's true because I myself have seen photographs of them beaming with her. I can't remember where now, but she's been everywhere. And it's really interesting that they would twist and turn and pervert, because that's what they do. They are perverting the goodwill of a supporter because it suits their agenda. So the fact that she is allowed by Harry and Meghan and embraced by Harry and Meghan to get close to them so that they can embrace her, then they spin around and use her existence as justification for increased security. It shows a degree of two-facedness, treachery, and disgusting resourcefulness, which I think is morally deplorable, and I deplore it. Queen Chick says, It mystifies me how clearly everyone sees the moral and spiritual bankruptcy, indeed evil, of this couple, yet the palace seems to give it not much mind. Ah, but you see, my dear, everybody wouldn't be in the position to see the moral and spiritual bankruptcy, indeed evil, as you put it, of this couple if the palace hadn't stood aside, given them enough rope for them to hang themselves with, then allowed them to just unfurl it and play with it to their heart's content. I've tried to point this out time and again. It's been a subtle and a long term, but actually a very effective means of allowing Harry and Meghan to unmask themselves, which has been far more effective, in my view, than if the palace had unmasked them. There would have been a comeback from Harry and Meghan if the palace had unmasked them. They'd have said, oh, it's racism. Oh, it's this. Oh, Catherine's jealous of Meghan because Catherine's so short compared to Meghan. And let's remember, Catherine's nowhere near as good looking as Meghan because, of course, Catherine's not had the plastic surgery that Meghan's had. And Catherine's doesn't wear clothes as well as Meghan. And Catherine's nowhere near as intelligent as Meghan. And Catherine doesn't have the class of Meghan. And Catherine doesn't this, and Catherine doesn't that, and William this, and William that, and William the other. And, of course, it's all jealousy and racism. Well, they can't say any of that because, and nor can their supporters, because every time they lose a supporter, it is due to their actions. Do you see the cleverness of the technique? I know a lot of people don't, and a lot of people don't want to, and a lot of people refuse to, but I see it. So, does the public mind? You bet the public minds. But does the palace mind as well? You bet the palace minds too. But the palace has been clever enough to understand that when you're dealing with somebody as devious, manipulative, and ruthlessly unscrupulous as Meghan Markle and her sidekick, well-trained Harry, you better be careful how you proceed. And what better way to proceed than let them unmask themselves? Let them come up with the inconsistencies. Let them expose themselves as the frauds and the phonies and the pretentious pifflers that they are. And they've done it. Pamela Cooney says, it would be funny if it's decided that Sparry can only receive protection when performing royal duties or at state events, as is done for others. Why he ever earned different treatment in the first place is beyond me. Since he no longer does any duties, he'll not get any protection. Well, that I don't think will happen, because the risk assessment that Shabana Mahmood has been induced to bat for Meghan on the basis of Meghan being a woman of colour. Let's be clear about the basis upon which that is being furthered. If it's altered, it would be very surprising that they took away the case-by-case risk assessment, which indeed they could, and quite frankly, I think they should take away, because Princess Anne and Prince Edward and Sophie don't have the level of security that Harry and Meghan would like for themselves, and them two pick-me them, as they would say in Jamaica. Well, I really should say, him too pick me. him to pickney them. Let's stick to facts. We know they're his. Vivian Howe says, Lady C, would appreciate your thoughts on the online rumour that King Charles has requested this new security court case as he wants Harry to return. Personally, I cannot believe King Charles would put the monarchy and Wales family at risk. It's utter rubbish. It's utter rubbish. The king has absolutely nothing to do with this. The king has kept well out of it. Harry has gone behind the king's back. He's gone behind the back of Ravek. He's gone behind the back of Sir Clive Alderton. He's gone behind the back of the courts, all of which have ruled. It has nothing to do with the king. It's Shabana Mahmood flexing her muscles, showing her power, and doing something that she thinks, as does the Starmer government, will play well with their supporters. And let's remember that they play the colour card and the foreign card in preference to the native card and the ethnically native card and the, shall we say, heritage traditionally card. Let's put it that way. Because members of this government have said that they think that foreigners who come here illegally have more rights to the benefits of the state than taxpayers, who now include a large percentage of the working class whose burden has been increased as a result of Rachel Reeves's recent actions. So they're not only soaking the rich, they're soaking the poor as well. They're soaking everybody. It's so unfair. It's so unequal. And it's so prejudiced. It's unbelievable how prejudiced they are. And I'll tell you, because nobody has touched upon this, but I'm going to touch upon it. There's a very recent development that has emerged as a result of Mr. Justice Nicolin warning Harry and Sadie Frost and Doreen Lawrence and all of the claimants in the Associated Newspapers case that they had better look very carefully at proceeding with their claims against Associated Newspapers, because if they lose, it's going to be catastrophic for them. And if some of them lose and others don't, it's still going to be catastrophic. Now, anybody who knows their way around the law knows that when a judge makes a warning like that, which is virtually unheard of, incidentally, but the costs are estimated at £38 million. And the Sherborne Prince Harry witness was somebody called Gavin Burrows, according to them. But Gavin Burrows has on more than one occasion said the witness statement that they have attributed to him is a forgery. Now, nobody seems to be picking up on this. And this is just happened yesterday. It's a huge warning that Nicolin is giving them. And wouldn't it be interesting to see Harry bankrupt? Of course, we no longer have debtors' prisons. More's the pity. I'm sure Meghan would be very happy to show how much she loves H. Of course, she's never said she loves him. She's only said how much he loves her. But I'm sure she'd love to show the world that she's as much a loving wife as she's been a loving daughter. Remember, I've written a letter to Daddy. And I went and visited my husband in Marshalsea debtor's jail. And he was so broken-hearted because he can't get to be with me 24/7. But it's okay. I've told him I'm working on Elon. Maybe Elon can catapult us all to Mars. Or maybe he'll catapult Harry to Mars, me to Venus, and crazy people. But it will be interesting to see what happens. But it's really, to me, looking at what's going on, how Mr. Justice Nicolin's clear warning to them really, to me, is an indication of you'd better settle this case. Of course, they may take the view they're going to try to brazen it out. And if David Sherborne is giving them that advice, I would say to them, be very careful not to listen to your lawyer. Look at the mess he's got you in, because he's the architect of the whole thing. Don't take my word for it. Read what Harry says in his autobiography. Really interesting. And I'm going to end with what Deanne Winnick says. The Meghan squad is horrendous. Please be careful, Lady C. They are dangerous and vicious. They tore you apart online the other day. It made me sick. Well, my dear, as you can see, I'm totally intact. They can tear me online till they're blue in the face. As long as I'm not torn apart in reality, I couldn't give a continental damn what they think, feel, or say. They are of no significance whatsoever. People like that, Pocomania types, obeah merchants, Santerias, they only have power if you allow them to. If you treat them with the contempt that they deserve and refuse to acknowledge their existence. Take it from me, they have no power over you whatsoever. Tear me apart online. I couldn't care less. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please keep the questions and comments coming in so I will know what ground you would like us to be covering. Thank you so much. Take good care. Godspeed. And if you have truly enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and what's it again? I'm dying to say purge. I can't believe it. Hype. Oh, isn't the human mind interesting? Godspeed. Bye-bye.